It almost never starts with a fight. She won't come at you with a raised voice, a torrent of accusations, or some dramatic, fury-filled threat. That's not how the game is played. No, it's much quieter than that. It starts with a simple smile while she disagrees with you on something small. It's in the way she delays, changes her mind at the last possible second, and then just watches. She's watching to see what you'll do. She's applying this tiny, almost imperceptible amount of pressure, just to see if you'll bend. That's the first test. And if you fail it, there's no big explosion. There's no blood. There's only a quiet, invisible surrender. Because the moment a man starts to yield his frame, his time, his own rational judgment, just to win a woman's temporary approval, he's already lost something so much more valuable than her respect. He has lost his authority over himself. He has lost his own sovereignty. The political philosopher Machiavelli wrote something over 500 years ago that cuts right to the bone of this. He said, "He who becomes master of a city accustomed to freedom and does not destroy it may expect to be destroyed by it." Think about that. Now think about your own life. You begin to see exactly why so many well-meaning men lose everything they've built. They try to win a woman's heart without ever dismantling her illusions about who's in charge. They try to lead a relationship without ever testing for loyalty. They want to sit on the throne of their own life, but never bother to inspect the members of their own court. And because of that, they are slowly, quietly devoured by the very thing they failed to inspect in the first place. Let's be brutally honest for a minute. This isn't to say that women are inherently chaotic creatures. Far from it. They are, however, deeply and instinctively calculating. Not because they're cruel or malicious, but because survival itself has demanded it for centuries. A woman who can't effectively test a man's strength, his resolve, his core, is a woman who can't truly feel safe with him. And so, from the very first word you speak to her, the test has already begun. She's not just listening to what you say. She's analyzing why you're saying it. She's studying you. She studies how much you flinch when she shows up 20 minutes late with a casual apology. She studies how quickly you forgive her when she breaks a promise that was important to you. She's watching how eagerly you accommodate her contradictions, when she says she wants one thing but does the complete opposite. What you've been taught to call grace or kindness or understanding, she instinctively interprets on a much more primal level. To her, it's weakness. It's a lack of fortitude. And this is where Machiavelli's wisdom is so vital. He warned, "A prince who is not himself shrewd cannot be well counseled." That's the failure of the modern man in a nutshell. You've been conditioned to believe that your willingness to please, your readiness to bend over backward, is what earns you love and affection. But Machiavelli teaches a much colder, more realistic lesson, that it is much safer to be feared than loved, when one of the two must be lacking. Now let's be clear. Feared doesn't mean she's afraid of you in a physical sense. It means she has a deep-seated fear of losing your respect. It means she respects your boundaries so much that the thought of crossing them gives her pause. Understand this fundamental truth. A woman may genuinely love the man she can easily manipulate, but she will only ever respect the man she cannot move. And when the storms of life hit, it's respect, not just affection, that ensures her loyalty. Respect is the bedrock. Affection is the house built on top of it. Without the bedrock, the whole thing collapses at the first shake. Imagine you're the ruler of a small kingdom, your own life. Every interaction is a bulletin to your court. She shows up late. Do you adjust your entire schedule to fit her chaos? Or do you adjust your standards for what you'll accept? She casually mentions her ex-boyfriend. Do you get visibly insecure and start asking questions? Or do you remain completely unbothered, as if she just mentioned the weather? She dismisses one of your ideas in front of friends. Do you shrink and start groveling for agreement? Or do you hold your ground, unmoved? Every single moment, big or small, is a referendum on your strength. And trust me, she is not the only one voting. The world watches, too. Now, if you're sitting there thinking this is all about playing manipulative games, you are still sound asleep. This has nothing to do with seduction tactics. This is about sovereignty. The man who cannot test a woman is like a king who never once inspects his own borders. He just assumes they're secure. He will be invaded, he will be exploited, and eventually, he will be overthrown without ever even recognizing the first declaration of war. And why? Because he mistook her smile for a peace treaty. He saw her agreeableness as a sign of loyalty. But Machiavelli gave us a stark warning about this. He said that appearances are the enemy of truth. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. And women, perhaps more than anyone else on the planet, are absolute masters of appearing agreeable while simultaneously testing for strength. She might laugh at all your jokes, call you sweet, and tell you how much she appreciates you, all while systemically pushing on your boundaries like a foreign power testing the voltage of an electric fence. She will never ask you outright, "Can I control you?" She will simply try. And the very first time you fold, the first time you give in when your gut told you not to, you have taught her exactly who you are. You're not the ruler of your own life. You're the ruled. So where does this all come from? Why are so many men walking around like kings who can't even see their kingdom is being overthrown? It's because you were never taught to test. You were taught to do the exact opposite. You were taught to trust blindly. From day one, you were fed a very specific, very romantic, and very dangerous narrative. That love is something you earn through sheer goodness. That if you're just kind enough, present enough, and provide enough, a good woman will naturally see the good in you and love you for it. But Machiavelli would have laughed at this sentimental notion. He understood that in any arena where power is at stake, and make no mistake, interpersonal relationships are arenas of power. Only the foolish lead with unchecked goodness. He wrote, "A man who wishes to act entirely up to his professions of virtue soon meets with what destroys him among so much that is evil. You weren't born into a peaceful utopia. You were born into a world of constant evaluation. And a woman, even the kindest, most gentle woman you'll ever meet, doesn't love you for your virtue alone. She is drawn to your gravity, your ability to resist, to assert your own direction, to remain completely unmoved by her emotional storms. Think of yourself as a planet. Your gravity is your purpose, your standards, your unshakable core. A woman can orbit you, thrive in your light, and feel safe in your pull. But if you lose your gravity, everything flies apart. So she will test that gravity. If she starts crying during a disagreement, is your first instinct to abandon your position entirely just to make the tears stop? If she disrespects you with a backhanded comment, do you start chasing her, trying to figure out what you did wrong and how to win back her favor? If she disappears for a day and goes cold, do you frantically text and call, waiting by the door like a lost puppy? Or do you carry on with your life, like a man whose purpose was never, ever centered around her validation? These are her tests. They are never spoken. They are deployed like invisible tripwires across every single interaction you have. She doesn't explain them because she doesn't have to. The test isn't in the problem she presents. It's in your reaction to it. She's watching how you respond to silence, how you handle tension, how you navigate disagreement. She's watching how quickly you're willing to negotiate with your own standards just to keep her smiling. And the moment you do, that smile might stay on her face, but deep down, the respect just evaporates into thin air. This is the reason why so many men lose all the power in their relationships without ever hearing the word no. It's not a sudden event. It's a slow fade. She just becomes a little colder, a little less responsive, a little less affectionate. You're left scratching your head, wondering what happened. Everything was so perfect. But what happened was devastatingly simple. In a moment of pressure, she saw your soft core. And now, she can never unsee it. Machiavelli gave some brilliant advice to rulers that applies perfectly here. He said you should simulate virtue, but not be a slave to it. His words were, "It is well to appear merciful, faithful, humane, sincere, religious, and also to be so. But you must be ready to change to the opposite if necessity commands it." That last part is the key. If necessity commands it. That is the part that modern men have been trained to ignore. You're living in a world where softness and vulnerability are publicly celebrated, but are rarely, if ever, rewarded in the raw, unfiltered dynamics of attraction. A man who exposes his soft underbelly too soon isn't praised for his bravery. He's quietly and permanently dismissed as weak. And so, you must learn to test. Not for revenge, not to have control over her. You test for one reason and one reason only, for clarity. You have to know the truth. Is she with you because you bend to her will, or because you don't? Is her loyalty to you genuine, or is it just a performance she maintains as long as you remain compliant and easy to manage? You will never find the answer to that question in your comfort zone. You'll only find it when you're willing to disrupt the script. For the first time, tell her no to something she expects a yes to, and then watch what shakes loose. Withhold your attention when she's creating drama, and see what remains of her interest. Speak your unvarnished truth on a matter you disagree on, and then just listen for the silence that follows. A woman who is stable, grounded, and genuinely worthy of you won't flinch at your standards. She might even be frustrated by them in the moment, but on a deeper level, she will respect them. But a woman who lives for domination, who needs to be in control, will not tolerate a man she cannot move. She will see your newfound spine as a declaration of war. And this, right here, is where most men fall. It's not that they lack strength. It's that they've been conditioned to be terrified of using it. You have trained yourself for years to be a professional people pleaser. You've been taught that any kind of resistance on your part will lead to her rejection. But the truth is much, much colder. Constantly pleasing her guarantees her eventual rejection of you. Resistance, on the other hand, reveals character. Let me say that again. Pleasing guarantees rejection. Resistance reveals character. The Machiavellian man doesn't get drawn into long, pointless arguments. He doesn't waste his breath trying to explain his frame. He observes, he withholds, he tests. Because he understands a fundamental law of nature. That which cannot withstand scrutiny is not worth keeping. And any connection that collapses under the slightest pressure was never real to begin with. A woman will never hand you a written manual on what she truly respects, but she will reveal it with perfect clarity through what she chooses to stay for. Pay attention to the paradox. She might tell you she wants a sweet, sensitive, kind man, and yet vanish the moment you prioritize her feelings over your own convictions. She might swear on her life that she values honesty above all else, and then fly into a rage when your honest truth conflicts with the fantasy she wants to live in. This is precisely why your tests must always be silent. They are not announced. They are not explained. They are simply executed. The moment you say, "I am testing you now," the test is over. You've shown your hand. The real data, the pure, unfiltered truth, comes only when she has no script to follow. Only in that silence, when she doesn't know what you're thinking, does her raw instinct finally speak. And her instinct is what Machiavelli studied with more ruthless discipline than any sentiment. He wasn't writing for men who wanted to be liked. He was writing for men who intended to rule. He gave us a powerful metric that we can use on ourselves. He said, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." The same principle applies directly to your life. You want to know your own worth? You want to measure your own strength? Look at the woman standing beside you. And I don't mean how she looks. I mean, how does she respond to your resistance? If she's only soft when you're being soft. If she's only close when you're being convenient. If she only seems to love the version of you that bends to her will, then you are not respected. You are being tolerated. You are a placeholder until something more compelling, something stronger, comes along. The test, therefore, is not about punishment. It's about gathering information. If you ask nothing of her, she will show you nothing of her true character. If you let every single red flag pass by without comment, she will just plant more of them. And yet, the very moment you require clarity, the moment you withdraw your comfort without giving an explanation, the moment you deliver a simple no with a straight face and a quiet voice, she will be left without a script. Her performance will end, and her essence, her true self, will have to step onto the stage. Will she adapt, or will she accuse? Will she lean in with curiosity, or will she fall back with cold silence? Will she try to offer value to get back in your good graces, or will she start reminding you of all the things she feels you owe her? Her unfiltered reaction is your report card. It's the truth you've been avoiding. As the old saying goes, it is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. It's not your role as the boyfriend or the husband that commands respect. It's how you uphold the strength of that role when pressure finally arrives. Now you have to prepare for the backlash. When you begin to test, a woman rarely explodes right away. She's smarter than that. She observes. She recalibrates. She might even become sweeter and more affectionate for a little while. But don't be fooled. Behind that soft exterior, a calculation is running. She's trying to figure out if this new strength of yours is just a phase, a trick you learned, or if it's your new, true form. The moment you set a real boundary, you have declared war on the version of her that was getting everything she wanted by subtly dominating you. And now she has a choice: evolve or escalate. If she chooses to escalate, with guilt trips, with drama, with cold shoulders, with accusations, you must not move an inch. This is where almost every man loses the entire war. He tests once, gets the inevitable backlash, and immediately retreats because the discomfort is too much. He thinks the conflict is a sign that he should compromise. But Machiavelli warned us, injuries must be inflicted all at once, so that their savor may be less. The meaning is clear. If you are going to assert your frame, do it fully, immediately, and without hesitation. Don't test her 1 week and then collapse in a heap the next. Inconsistency is an invitation for chaos, and chaos is her natural habitat. It's where she wins. Let me be very clear. A woman's resistance to your new boundaries isn't the problem. Her reaction to your consistency is the truth. So you have to ask yourself a hard question. Machiavelli said that men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. Take a look at your relationship. Is it driven by your genuine love and admiration for her, or is it driven by your fear of losing her? If you are constantly afraid of upsetting her, you are not in love. You are in submission. You cannot lead a woman you're terrified of disappointing. You cannot protect a woman who you secretly depend on for your own sense of purpose. And you absolutely cannot test a woman whose reaction means more to you than your own sanity. But the woman who passes your tests, the rare woman, she won't flatter you or worship you. She will simply walk beside you. And when you push, she will hold her own shape. Not because she fears you, but because she respects the man who does not flinch. That is the woman you are looking for. But she cannot be found unless you are willing to filter the world with ruthless discipline and endure the temporary loneliness with silence. So now, the choice is yours. You can click away from this video and go back to your life. You can pretend that love is pure, that your effort is all that matters, that setting boundaries is harsh, and that all women are innocent angels. Or you can begin. You can test her reaction to your silence. Test her reaction to your anger. Test her consistency, her gratitude, and her reaction to the simple, powerful word, no. Because any woman who cannot withstand your scrutiny does not deserve your investment, and any man who refuses to test is already lost. If you found truth in these words, if this message hit something deep inside you that you didn't want to admit, then share it. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. Every time you share this, another man wakes up before it's too late. And that might be the most Machiavellian move of all, awakening the kingdom before the invaders even reach the gates. This was Machiavelli's secret to testing a woman before she strips you of your power. Now go, test everything, and trust no mask.